The top U.S. general overseeing forces in Latin America has met senior Cuban military officials near the perimeter of the American naval base at Guantanamo Bay. Washington says the meeting focused on operational security. The Cuban delegation included a general. A rare meeting between the head of the U.S. Southern Command and Cuban military officials took place at a time of heightened tensions between the two countries. The meeting follows Cuba holding both military and civilian drills across the island. Officials say they're aimed at strengthening defensive capabilities. Earlier, Cuba's foreign minister had warned that the risk of U.S. military aggression against the island is growing amid stalled talks between the two countries. Ernesto Castañeda is the director of the Center for Latin American and Latino Studies at American University. He says the meeting between the U.S. and Cuban military officials may have been intended to increase pressure on Havana and test the Cuban military's response to a possible escalation in tension.
Probably they were trying to negotiate, to talk about possible threats from the U.S. Southern Command as an invasion to Cuba, and try to communicate the message to the Cuban army that they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. Now, probably the Cubans didn't agree, or that wouldn't be enough of an argument. Also, the U.S. has lately claimed, probably falsely, that the Cubans are trying to take back Guantanamo, which is in Cuba, is a territory they have claimed it, but it's unlikely that they could do so militarily. So probably what happened here, Scott, is that there were offers from the U.S. General to the Cuban military to, in the event of U.S. intervention, that they wouldn't intervene to try to defend the government, that they will stay put in exchange for maybe they keeping their positions and big influence on Cuban economy and political system. It wasn't a secret meeting, it was in person, so they could talk without anybody listening. I think that has two possible readings. One is that the meeting itself is another type of threat to President Díaz-Canel of Cuba, to Raúl Castro, that they're putting the pressure so that they give up, so they resign and they accept defeat before anything happens. So that's one role. And the other one is to try to emulate what happened in Venezuela and try to have a soft self-coup when there's not a lot of violence, and they allowed for the destruction of Díaz-Canel or Castro by U.S. forces. And while a new puppet regime is installed by Washington, I think that's what Trump would wish